Hello, friend. This is Ryan Hicks of TalkToProfit.com, and today I want to talk to you about how to go from a warrior, W-O-R-R-I-E-R, to a warrior, W-A-R-R-I-O-R. So you can go from this person who's worrying and anxious and fearful, or this person who is a victorious warrior. Now, I have to be very clear. As Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12 says, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." So this is not about you being a warrior against other people. This isn't even about you being a warrior against quote-unquote evil, so to speak. This is about you being victorious and walking in that warrior spirit who is already victorious by Jesus Christ. Romans chapter 8, verse 15 says, "For ye have not received the spirit of bondage again to fear, but ye have received the spirit of adoption, whereby we cry, Abba, Father." You don't have a spirit of fear. If you are getting into a spirit of fear and anxiety and worry, you are slipping away from the Lord, because you can't be perfectly in union with Him and be in fear, be worrying, be anxious. It doesn't happen. It's not possible, my friend. 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7 says, "For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." My friend, that is the spirit you should be walking in. That's the warrior spirit. But like I said, this is a victorious warrior, not somebody going out and creating new battles for themselves. Somebody who's already living in the victory of a conquest, not by you, but by Jesus. 1 John chapter 3, verse 8 says, "He that committeth sin is of the devil, for the devil sinneth from the beginning. For this purpose the Son of God was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil." That's what you need to walk in. John goes on later in that same book in chapter 5, verse 4, and he says, "For whatsoever is born of God overcometh the world." You're already a victorious warrior. And this is the victory that overcometh the world, even our faith. My friend, if you walk in that faith, the faith of God has been implanted in you, you'll act differently. You can't shrink back into fear and worry and anxiety. Every aspect of your life that you want to prosper and to be blessed, whether it be your relationship, your business, your job, whatever, your finances, of course, your health, they all are intertwined with you living in the spirit that's of power and of love and of a sound mind, not the spirit of fear. The spirit of fear is the world. It's bondage. It's not of God. And it's useless to be in fear because you already have the victory. You've already overcome the world. That's like you win a game and then you go to the person who you defeated and say, "Well, I guess I lost." You already got the victory, and you're just willingly handing over that victory to Satan, to the world, to humans who are working against you, whatever it may be. And of course, like I said, they're working with the evil one. Your battle's not with flesh and blood. So understand where they're coming from so you don't get on their level. That's how you don't get affected by what somebody says or does, because you're not controlled by what external circumstances, because you control the circumstances by your heart that's pure, that's filled with faith and boldness in the Holy Ghost, and you have issues of life that correspond with that good heart. That heart that was born again, that was created new. God gave you a new heart. It's not your old heart. People talk about, "Well, the heart is deceitful and wicked." Yes, before salvation. If God gives you a new heart and you go around talking about how your heart's deceitful and wicked, you're blaspheming Him, because the work He's done in you. And if you don't see that work and the fruit of that work and the evidence of that work, then maybe you don't really know Him and you haven't been given a new heart. That's not to condemn, that's to make you wake up. You got to stop with this religious nonsense, the garbage of the world where they talk about, "I'm just the worst. I'm the chief of sinners. I'm a dirty, filthy worm. I'm a wretched man that I am." Stop. All those things are ascribed to somebody before living in the Spirit of Christ, before being born again, before being someone walking in that newness of life with a new heart within them. That person that's just wallowing around in sin, but trying to be a Christian at the same time, they're fully defeated by the devil. They're not walking in the victory that Jesus came to give them. Jesus said in Matthew chapter 11, verse 28 through 30, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, and learn of me. For I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light." Too many people are taking up their own yokes, their own burdens. It's difficult, it's hard, it's oppressive. It leads to fear and worry and anxiety. But you're just willingly allowing defeat when victory has been literally handed to you on a platter. Jesus already defeated the devil. You don't need to be worrying about the devil and battling the devil each and every day unless you're in sin. Because remember, 1 John chapter 3 verse 8 said that he that committeth sin is of the devil, for the devil sinneth from the beginning. For this purpose the Son of God was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil. And make no mistake about it, poverty, lack, sickness, disease, ignorance, foolishness, bad relationships, all those things are works of the devil. Everything look and see in the garden that the garden had, it was fully supplied, the relationship was good, everything was perfect. The opposite of that is works of the devil. And Jesus came, his purpose in coming was that he might destroy those works. Don't you dare allow those works in your life and dare for a second blame God for them when Jesus came and his purpose was to destroy those works in your life. But later on that same book, in chapter 5 verse 18, John says this, "We know that whosoever is born of God sinneth not, but he that is begotten of God keepeth himself, and that wicked one toucheth him not." Do you see how this is all intertwined? If you keep on going in sin, then you're still under the works of the devil that Jesus came to destroy. You're not keeping yourself, and the wicked one can touch you. He can battle you, he can beat you up. But if you'll get in that righteous state, doing the right things, being the right person, and listen, my friend, compared to what the world does and the complete apathy and laziness of the world, and that includes the vast majority of professing Christendom, it's going to be hard for you. It's going to be a lot of work for you at first. And you start getting into that stride and you realize, this is the better way to live. I don't want to live in that defeated way, that defeated life where I'm worried and anxious all the time, where the devil's constantly beating me up because I don't have victory over him, even though it's readily available for me, because Jesus already got it for me. It's just a matter of me taking it up. And I take it up by living that righteous life. Unless you listen to some false preacher telling you, well, you don't have to live righteously because we have Jesus' righteousness and God looks at us and he just sees Jesus and not us. That's a lie, my friend. Because 1 John chapter 3 verse 7 says very plainly, it actually literally says for you not to be deceived. Let no man deceive you. It says, little children, let no man deceive you. He that doeth righteousness is righteous even as he is righteous. So what is the deception that a man would try to teach you is that you can be righteous even if you don't do righteousness. That should be readily apparent to anyone, but people love to pretend they're just righteous, even though they live in a way that is not righteous. And understand, because people will start going, because people have all kinds of church traditions and nonsense, and the babblings and vain repetitions of men. Well, we're not saved by works. Nobody's saying that. But if you truly have an experience with God, you're truly walking with him, you truly have had your heavy burden lifted from you, that yoke removed, and you're just walking in newness of life, you're going to have a different life. You're going to produce righteousness naturally from your heart because your heart is new. You've been born again. Behold, all things have become new. That old's passed away, my friend. And this is important to understand because until you grasp this, and start living from that fullness of life and newness of life, you're very likely going to be in that warrior state, the person who's worrying. Not in the victorious warrior state, the person who's already won the battle by Jesus. He didn't have to lift a finger. Jesus did it for him. And so you got to live that righteous life. It's he that doeth righteousness is righteous, even as he is righteous. And I got a video I did years ago about imputation, because people talk about imputation. They have no clue what it is. They think it's some magical thing where God can't see their sins, and they just have this immunity pass to go sin all they want. No, that's Jude 4 theology, where you're turning the grace of God into lasciviousness. That's not what the grace of God's for. The grace of God is so that you can live righteously. God has so empowered us, and Titus chapter 2 says that the very grace of God that brings salvation has appeared to all men, and teaches us that denying ungodliness and worldly lusts, we should live soberly, righteously, and godly in this present world. If the grace of God you believe you received is teaching you don't have to live righteously, you don't have to be sober-minded, you can just do whatever you want, that's not the grace of God, because that's not what the grace of God teaches. And this all ties into your prosperity, into your abundance, into your health, into your wealth, and everything about your life that should be good. Because if you don't get this basic thing down, everything else falls to the wayside. And you can't live in the victorious life of faith that you should be living. You can't be that person who truly believes and then gets whatever they say. You can't be that person who's got that pure heart, and from that pure heart creates good issues of life. My friend, don't let another day go by when you don't live up to the high standards of Christ. By the grace he's given you. It's not about you having to find it on your own, but understand you want to do things. God doesn't make you do it. God's not responsible for you not doing it. He's not responsible for you doing it. It is up to you. And if you'll make the choice and daily take action toward it, meaning you have to give up a lot of the world's stuff, the world's entertainment, babbling about social media stuff, reading the news, doing all this stuff that the world does, the sports and all these things that people get caught up in, and they literally waste their lives away on things that are not productive and don't do anything at all for them, and actually work against them and make their life worse. You're going to have to change that, my friend. And it's very simple if you'll do it by just faith and walking in that boldness of faith, speaking and decreeing the things you want, and believing those things will come to pass. You'll have whatsoever you say. And you just live in that boldly, going around speaking the things you want. Stop speaking the doubts. Stop speaking lies. Stop speaking the world's... there's people right now babbling about this new pandemic's going to happen. They're so fearful, not knowing God, not walking with him. They're terrified of what might happen next. But you don't have anything to be afraid of. You're walking in that newness of life, and you are already victorious. This is the victory that overcomes the world, my friend, even our faith. I pray this is a blessing for you. May God bless you richly.